In this video, we want to demonstrate two concepts. The first is the creation of a cross certificate that involves an internet certifier. And second of all, how we can propagate that cross certificate to the user's desktop. The scenario in which such a series of actions might be required could be where an organization has a code signing certificate. And since that code signing certificate is not intrinsically trusted by the Domino certifier, we need to create a cross certificate. In preparation for this demonstration, we've already taken the steps necessary to migrate the Domino certifier to the Domino Certification Authority process. By doing this, we've enabled this platform to cross-certify Internet certificates and, for that matter, to issue Internet certificates. The first thing we're going to do then is to examine an existing Internet certificate and look at how we will create the required cross certificate. When we look at the administration requests database, the certification process, as it migrates a Domino certifier, as is seen in this highlighted entity here, or it issues a Internet certifier as demonstrated in this second example, we can understand how the certification process creates these documents. When I open the document, I'm prompted to create a cross certificate. If I choose to cancel, then it indicates in a pop-up that no trust can be established with the certificate that we're viewing. This is the same kind of behavior that would occur if a piece of code has been signed with a code signing certificate. Now, what we're going to do is create the cross certificate that's going to place a copy into the user's personal address book or contacts database. Right now, if we look at the contact database, choose the advanced view and look at certificates, we'll see there are a number of Internet certifiers. These are all trusted root certifiers and related certificates. But in addition to these, we also want to see a certificate which is for cross certification or for trust of another certification. And this is the example here. Now, similarly, we would find in the certificates view of the Domino directory a reference to a cross certificate here as well. And this would be the cross certificate that's used by the server when it encounters signed code. So let's take a look at the process first of creating the cross certificate, and then second, let's take a look at the process of propagating that to the address book of the individual user. When we attempt to open this, as we saw before, we're prompted for a cross certificate. We're going to choose the server will become a hub, and the reason for this is we want to record this cross certificate in the Domino directory or the public address book of the Domino server. The subject name, it will be fixed by the certificate we're cross certifying. The certifier needs to be not the individual user, as is currently the entity, but the Domino certification WW Corp. That places the trust at the highest level in our Domino security structure or our organizational hierarchy. So now you can see that the certifier is our domain, our organization certifier. We could cross certify it at a lower level, such as SVR if we only wanted to let servers trust it. And we're recording this on a registration server, in this case hub/svr/ww corp. Let's cross certify. We have submitted a request for cross certification. We're not going to repeat the request. We could create our own local reference, but I don't want to do that right now because I want to use policy to push this down to my desktop. And so as a user, I still don't trust this. If we look at the admin requests by action, we should see a reference to creating a cross certificate. And let's tell the admin process to process everything. And let's take a look at our certificates view. And we see we have an Internet Cross Certificate signed by WW Corp for a subject named WW Corp, O equals WW Corp, location Pelham, State, New Hampshire, country, US. Now this means that an entity such as our server, which reads its configuration from this Domino directory, is now able to trust the code signed by that cross certificate. And if our only concern was the trust of the code signed certificate at the server level, then we would be done. But in many cases, we need to trust this code on a local basis. So in order to do that, we need to create a policy. And when we create a policy, we'll actually in this case create a security settings document first. Actually, let's start with our policy. It'll be simpler. And we're going to make this an organizational policy. So let's change our type to organizational, and we're going to apply it to everybody in WW Corp. If we had an organizational unit and we wanted to narrow the scope of this policy to a smaller audience, then we could do so. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create a new security settings. And as we look at the tabs, there are a number of settings we can set. Let's start with the name. We'll call this one Sample Certificate Propagation. And we'll choose the Keys and Certificates tab. Down at the bottom, we have a button for updating links. And when we choose this, we can choose to update the links for all certificates or selected certificates. And for the purpose of illustration, I'm going to choose selected supported certificates. We have no notes cross certificates, but we do have an Internet cross certificate. If we had several, then we would have several rows, and we could check each that's applicable. Here I've selected the certificate we've chosen to trust earlier in the cross certification action we just completed. And we'll save and close our security settings. And then from the lookup, we'll choose our newly created settings document. And we'll save and close. Now at this point, we're going to exit the administrative client, and that's because policy is applied during the dynamic client configuration process, which will occur when we log in and access our mail file. So I've launched my client, and I'm going to open my mail file. You can observe the status down here. Not a whole lot, but you will notice that notes configuration settings have been refreshed. And let's open our contacts database, and let's go to our certificates view, advanced certificates, collapse Internet certifiers, and we can see that the Internet cross certificate has been propagated. Now because we propagated this through policy, we might want to try to delete it, but you'll notice that this has been set by policy, so the users can't delete this, not even the administrator, because the policy applies to the administrator as well. And let's go back now to our administrative client and take a look at how the artifacts have changed on the server as well. I'm opening and closing these clients for two reasons. One is to conserve resources on my virtual machine, and second of all, because I do need to have a fresh session in the notes client to propagate that policy. All right, let's start first by just seeing how the client certificate changes the behavior of that reference in the admin request database, the certificate request. So now we see the same certificate we saw earlier. We attempt to open it, and we don't have any prompt for a cross certificate. And that's because there's now a trust between my organization certifier, of which I am a child, and the Internet certifier that's referenced here. If we look at the server configuration, security, certificates, nothing will have changed here. The notes Internet Cross Certificate is still present. So in this demonstration, what we've seen is that by defining a policy, we're able to propagate the certificate from the Domino directory to the user's address book or contact database and enforce that. And we've also seen how we can create the cross certificate in the proper scope by selecting the correct registration server and, second of all, ensuring that the correct level of the certifying or cross-certifying certificate is selected. So hope this was helpful, and thank you for watching.